First off, the AI industry, like any other large industry that has a lot of money being thrown around in it, there's corruption, right? And there's companies that like oversell how effective their AI algos are. So like one example that like I wrote about several years ago was this Israeli company that was hired by Rhode Island during COVID to predictively say when COVID outbreaks would happen before they happen, based on like various metrics from like the Rhode Island Department of Health. And the company said their algorithm was like 75, 76% accurate, but that was never audited. That's like the company's own statistics. So those are probably like buffed up a significant amount. So let's say the real number is somewhere in like the 50% ballpark. That's no better than like flipping a coin, is it? So like, what are we paying for there? It's not so much about like people, regular people's trust. It's also about like, what happens when the state or like law enforcement or government give AI algorithms power over people's lives that are not accurate and should not be trusted and are not vetted. It's just that company got the contract because they have connections. That happens with every other industry. Why would it not happen with AI?
In light of Whitney Webb's findings and current market dynamics, we will be discussing the difficulties encountered by the AI business today. Recent events highlight the unpredictability and ethical quandaries of AI, despite its immense potential. The recent news of major titans like Alphabet and Microsoft failing to achieve investor expectations caused a substantial $190 billion market value fall for AI-related startups. Investments in artificial intelligence are very risky and uncertain, as this slump shows. What happens when a firm that does face recognition for law enforcement in different counties, or perhaps a whole state, obtains a contract? This particular firm has ties to a Silicon Valley billionaire who funded and donated to this politician's campaign or anything along those lines. As has been a well-documented issue with police enforcement facial recognition systems, for a number of years, they incorrectly identify persons or are biased against certain races. I am deeply concerned about those matters. In the UK, it has already occurred to a considerable extent, just like the Met Police. They are aware that it is inaccurate, leading to problems and incorrectly identifying individuals, but they have no intention of attempting to reform the corporation. Live facial recognition is not being phased away. It appears as though they are indifferent to the fact that it is incorrect and that precision is irrelevant. You know, it's more like setting up the Foucauldian panopticon, where people act in a certain way because they are aware that they are being observed. A lot of thought goes into developing AI, especially when you consider that several major corporations like Palantir have Foucault's likeness plastered all over their offices and promotional materials. Then its impact is more complex than that of the average person on lower levels. The question of why the government and these other institutions is entrusting unproven and unvetted AI technology with so much power also arises. AI is often exaggerated. Additionally, we are aware that AI has problems with precision. For instance, there's a phenomenon known as artificial intelligence hallucinations, in which the system produces meaningless results. And then there are those like Kissinger and Schmidt, who in their book contend that AI perceives a reality distinct from our own, and that we should put our faith in AI's illusions rather than our own sense of reality. Because AI is so much smarter than us. It's insane. That feels like a group illusion? The issue arises, however, when AI is used for things like facial recognition in police work, or in the current situation in Gaza, when it is used to decide who lives and who dies, or when it is used in situations like warfare, such as in Ukraine before the recent conflict in the Middle East. Their seeming lack of concern for accuracy belies the magnitude of the consequences. To be more precise, it is not. Without people to question its morality, you can just set machines to operate autonomously. Killing is not in my future. There are children in that house and I will not bomb it. I don't think the machine will accomplish that. Understand what I'm saying. I see. Who exactly are you going to make answerable to? Who is to blame? It seems like only last week we witnessed a rogue robot injuring a Tesla or Elon Musk factory worker, didn't we? The responsibility aspect is also significant because, to use an analogy, AIE is the ultimate Wizard of Oz for the ruling class. This is similar to the story I tell about the Wizard of Oz. Oh, we're simply following the instructions of the AI algorithm, and it's so intelligent, They can do anything they want, they can claim. Schmidt-Kissinger's book also mentions this, therefore it must be true. Its intelligence is beyond its comprehension. Because it's so intelligent, we should simply follow its instructions. It's clear that it doesn't understand what it's doing if it can't provide an explanation. Since it's being sold as smarter, everyone has to outsource their work in the belief that it is, essentially, via blind faith and religious devotion. The way these irrational people in Silicon Valley are designing algorithms affects our perception of reality and the world around us. There is no practical reason to regulate Silicon Valley, which controls the majority of these items because of its immense political influence. Therefore, the psychosocial repercussions are hardly ever discussed in relation to social media. Some of it will be alarmist rhetoric about things like the Chinese economy. You should also be aware that many of the TikTok CEOs are Americans, and that there are a lot of strange connections between their hiring practices and those of organizations like Disney, which is hiring veterans of the NATO and others. I mean, it's not like a typical CCP business. A lot of the information is similar. As far as the wealthy elites of the United States and China are concerned, there is a great deal of back and forth when it comes to transnational capital. As an example, consider the extensive engagement of Steve Schwarzman, a Blackstone capitalist in China. Some people, like Elon Musk, have extensive ties to the Chinese economy. Musk has stated his intention to transform Twitter, which he acquired, into an American version of WeChat. In addition, WeChat's parent firm is one of Tesla's most active shareholders and owns a significant portion of the company. So, you won't often hear people taking an extreme alarmist position on the matter. A fact, China is likely involved in such activities, but they also conceal a great deal of other more subtle goings-on. It remains unspoken. Just as they accuse China of doing to Americans, our government definitely does the same to us. I see. As a result, it is frequently left out of the discussion. Therefore, if this is the sole political discourse surrounding it, and if Washington believes that the sole concern is TikTok and the CCP, then this is all it is. After it, the concept of regulation is born. It won't resolve any of these issues. This is merely a calculated move on their part to give the impression that they are making an effort. However, the truth remains that our government will keep abusing the American people, regardless of whether China stops using its single app. On top of that, there are a plethora of social media apps that are powered by individuals who appear to be clones of U.S. intelligence agencies. Because the system is so flawed and unable to regulate itself, I believe that many problems within the government, Wall Street, and the financial industry will remain unsolved for a long time. The object is unable to conduct its own independent investigation. A major flaw in the system has undoubtedly occurred. This existing system was broken by the same individuals at the top who are now developing a new system to herd us into. Thus, we the people need to build an alternative. Regardless, the current system is obviously flawed, therefore there's a split in the road. In the end, the question of how to fix all this boils down to this. Will we use the new system that is being developed for us, or will we create our own system? And there's no doubt that they will be radically different.